Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome. If you're new here, my name is Key. My husband Charles and we've been gardening now for 2 years. Definitely it's not 25 years, but I think in 2 years we've learned something that if you're wanting to start a garden and you don't know where to start, that these tips might be helpful for you. The first thing I would say is that you want to figure out what zone you're in. And the reason I say figure out what zone you're in is because the plants that you grow in your garden makes a difference by the zone you're in, because the temperature and all that stuff makes a difference in the nature and the ecosystem of your plants. The way that you figure out what zone you're in is by going to the USDA.gov website, and I'll put the exact link in the description of this video. And then once you figure out what zone you're in, then you want to just start testing things. Like, most of the time when people are starting a garden, they're trying to start with, like, oh, I want to go buy all these fancy plants and I want my garden to look like the TikTok garden or the Instagram or whatever. In my opinion, just get started and work with whatever you have. And then once you get started, then you can start to fine tune it and get more creative with it, because you'll get the motivation of seeing the things that you're planting actually growing. And the other thing that's most important is just getting used to the soil and all those different things. Like, once you figure out your soil and what's the right mix for you and what mix works for what plant, then you want to start investing in the aesthetics, right? And so I'm going to flip the camera around and show you something. This is my avocado tree. This tree is the result of an avocado that was given to us from a friend who has a tree. And when we moved in here 2 years ago, this seed I planted, and this tree is now taller than me. I'm 4'11". And this tree is now taller than me. And this has been 2 years. We haven't gotten any fruits yet, but it's definitely a process, and it just keeps growing. So you let nature do its thing. This is my Suriname cherry tree. This tree I bought from a nursery. It was maybe 1 foot tall, and it is now 4 foot tall. My husband and I love bananas and plantains, so we have a variety of different plantains and bananas in the yard, because, I mean, you can just never have too much. This mango tree is also, this one actually came from a grocery store mango that I bought, and I really enjoyed the mango, so I just went ahead and planted the seed, and that's been about 2 years now. And this tree is also 4 foot tall. One of the things that we planted that I've gotten different results with was the first year I planted eggplant. And that eggplant, I bought it from Walmart. And that one was really good. It produced really good. Like, I mean, every single week I had eggplant. But when the winter came, and I live in Florida, so we don't necessarily get winter, but we do get cooler weather. And when that came, the plant got basically infected, like by some type of fungus. I was, again, just starting, so I didn't know that I could just put some neem oil on it and the plant would have came back. I got so frustrated with it, I just ripped it out the ground and threw it in the trash. And then I went to a nursery because my avocado tree started to have the same problem. And the guy at the nursery was like, sweetie, you just need some neem oil. Like, don't go buy any of that pesticide from the store. Just get some neem oil and mix it with water and spray it on the plant, and it'll be fine. And I did that. I bought the neem oil from that nursery, and I mixed it with water, and I sprayed it. And you guys saw my avocado tree. It's totally fine. This eggplant though that I bought this year, it has not been so good. The difference though was, the first year I put the eggplant in the ground and it grew wild and crazy. This year I kept it in a plant pot, thinking like I didn't want it to get as big as the last one, but I think that was a mistake because it didn't grow as well as the one grew last year. And so I'm like struggling with this one, trying to get it to give better results than what I've been getting, because I only got one eggplant from it this year and it was not good at all. This is my okra. Same thing with, like, with the eggplant. The first year I planted okra, I got amazing results with the okra. I didn't know that when the stems start drying out like this, like, you just have to give it time to reproduce because the leaves comes back. I didn't know that. So I thought that it was dead, and I just took it all out the ground, and I had to replant it again this year, but I didn't plant as many, and as a result, I didn't get as many. I planted, as you can see, just a few seeds, and I got the results of a few seeds. So definitely, I'm gonna be putting on a lot more okra seeds, because okra is one of those things I love. If you don't have this in your garden, I would highly recommend growing it. This is callaloo. In the Caribbean, we call this kalaloo. I don't know what it's called in your culture. To explain it, it is kind of, if you don't have this in your garden, I highly recommend planting it. Or if you're gonna start gardening, I highly recommend planting this as one of your first crops. We call this kalaloo. I don't know what it's called in your language or in your culture, but we call this kalaloo. This is a much healthier version of spinach. It has a lot of nutrients in it, a lot of iron, a lot of different things that your body needs. And the beautiful thing about this is that these things refuse to die. Like people say, like some people, when I tell them I have a garden, they're like, oh, you must have a green thumb. I don't have a green thumb, sweetie. I don't know what it means to have a green thumb, but I just know that it's a process and you get what you put in, you get the results that you put into it. This thing right here though, if you're looking for something that you don't have to do a whole lot of growing and you don't got to give it a whole lot of attention, kalaloo is one of those things. It will grow in the crack of a concrete, and I literally mean that. I took up the kalaloos that I had at the end of last summer, and then this summer, I just see kalaloo popping up in places that I didn't even plant no kalaloo. Literally in the cracks of concretes, in beds that I didn't plant it in. It got to a point where I had to just take them out of all of the variety of places that they were growing in and just made a bed for it. And they don't need super deep soil. They don't need a whole lot of nutrition. Like, I mean, they don't need a whole lot of attention. They don't need a whole lot, like, literally you can just put these things in the ground or wherever you got some space and they will grow because they love to grow. And they grow upward, so they grow like on a vine, so you got to have some place where they're going to be able to climb onto. So this is why I planted them here over my greenhouse, because it's literally going to climb on the greenhouse, because I'm not putting the cover back on the greenhouse this year. Another thing that you should be growing is scallions. Like, these are the heads of store-bought scallions, and they just grow wherever. They don't, like, I don't do a whole lot of nothing with them. They just grow. Lemongrass, this thing right here, I had to put it in a growing bag because I know that if I put this in the ground, this thing is gonna go wild and crazy and take over. So I have it in a growing bag, and I just cut it last week, and it's already like growing crazy. When I cut it last week, it was taller than my greenhouse, and this is literally the week after I cut it, and it's growing like crazy again. The good thing though about lemongrass is, if like, I use it for tea. I love lemongrass tea, but if it's too much for you to use all at once, you can dry it out in the sun and store it, or you can cut the grass and throw it into your garden beds, and it's literally mulch, and it's really good mulch for your garden. One of my favorite things that I planted this year was passion fruit. Like, the results that I've gotten from this passion fruit is astronomical. I literally have passion fruits on every single vine, and I'm not just talking about one passion fruit. I'm talking about, look at this. This is 4 passion fruits on one vine. These things have been growing so crazy. I've taken up 2 plants already and given them away, and I think that I'm gonna end up giving away some more of the ones that I have, because this is this is one plant. This is the root of one plant, and look at how many different vines it has on that one plant. And then this is the second, and this is a third vine, and every one of them have multiple vines. And my greenhouse cover kept coming off. So what I did was just let the passion fruit grow over the greenhouse, so that that acts as shade on the greenhouse, instead of keep fighting with the greenhouse cover. But passion fruit hands down has been like my favorite so far. That's all I got for you today. I hope that this video is super helpful to you. There is a lot of learning. Like, gardening is like anything else, it is a learning curve, and you get what you put into it. Like, and if you, and when I say you get what you put into it, like, you can spend a lot of money on the aesthetics of a garden and not necessarily grow anything, or you can just concentrate on the growing process, and once you figure out the growing process, then get into the aesthetics. Because trust me, the aesthetics will run you a bank. So will the plants, and so will the soil. So you have to get super creative. Oh, I'm gonna show you this one last thing before I end the video. When I say you have to get super creative about it, I literally mean that. These are hurricane shutters that I converted into a garden bed. These are pools that you buy from Walmart. They had them on sale for 50 cents for the small one. $1.50 for these medium-sized ones and $2.50 for the large ones. And I just converted these things into garden beds. So when I say that you have to get creative so that you can really be able to, I mean, if you have the budget to spend on it, then by all means blow your budget. But if you're just trying to get started and you're trying to figure out, start with whatever you have and make the best of it. And then in the process, it'll grow and it'll flourish and it'll become something, you know? My last and final tip for you is definitely garden bed over the ground. Trees, perfect for the ground, but your herbs and fruits and vegetables and stuff like that, I would say garden bed. And the reason I would say garden bed, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a garden bed, it could be a plant pot, it could be a pool like you just saw I had, anything that basically where you can control the soil, because you want to be able to retain the nutrients. And again, like when you have to buy soil and mulch and all this stuff, it starts to add up. And so you want to retain as much of that as possible. So having it in a garden bed allows you to not only retain it, but control the soil. And if you have a local a place in your area, like a waste management place that collects the trees and convert them into mulch, where you can go pick those up for free, highly recommend it. My husband and I go on a regular basis and pick up a truckload for free and just get free mulch and put it all over the garden, because who got time to go to the store and spend $5 a bag for mulch? Not me. That's all I got for y'all today, my love. I hope that you enjoyed this video and that is super helpful for you. There's a lot to learn in this process, but if you're down for it and you're committed to learning and growing, gardening, definitely 100% recommend it.